Kings Island is one of the best run amusement parks in the country, but I think it has one large gap in its coaster lineup. So what's replacing Vortex at Kings Island? I think I've narrowed it down to 6 models, 3 of them being likely. The Vekoma Tilt, a launch coaster from Vekoma, a family coaster like Big Bear Mountain, a mock launch, a Big Dipper, and finally, the most boring, a B&M Dive. One model I'm not discussing in today's video is the Premier Ride Skyrocket, mainly because I think it's too soon to assume the company will be running back to Premier. I'm going to go over all of them really quickly, then talk about what I think I'd like more. Starting with the Vekoma Tilt, I think this has a solid shot, but with Cedar Point just getting one, I don't really think this would happen for a while. Maybe it could replace Vortex, but I think it would come after. And I think this model needs a few more years. I think we're getting a Vortex replacement in 2028, but a tilt coaster could have an amazing photo op. Literally just anything interacting with Pathway. Next, the standard launch coaster from Vekoma. I think this is more likely than the tilt. I really think this coaster needs to invert like a good bit. So maybe they match Vortex's count or they don't. I feel like they would, but if this doesn't sound like a great model to you, tell me. I'm looking at the Top Guns in China and they look great. Maybe we could get something like that, but a little longer and just more fleshed out. The last Vekoma, the family launch coaster, something like Big Bear Mountain at Dollywood, I think would fit in the park perfectly. It's not exactly what I really want, but I think they should add like an inversion on the coaster just to be like, oh wow, look, this coaster goes upside down just like Vortex. I think it would be really cool to see Big Bear with a Heartline roll or something like that. That would be really cool. Our first mock being just the standard launch coaster. Yes, it's a little expensive, but if the company will work with B&M, I think they would 100% work with mock again. And look at the really successful Copperhead Strike at Carowinds. I'd hope for something like Helix at Liseberg at Kings Island though. The next model is the Big Dipper from Mock. It's a model gaining a bit of traction again, but looking at what it's doing, I think the park could use it, but I think it's a little too small and the capacity wouldn't be really adequate for Kings Island. Lastly, the B&M Dive. Six Flags is honestly going crazy with these coasters, and really every single park could have one. Remember guys, the general public, they don't visit random amusement parks everywhere in the country, and a B&M Dive has great capacity. It's a huge crowd pleaser, so yeah. Before we go any further, take a second to like, comment, and subscribe to help me with the YouTube algorithm. The 3 models most likely to be replacing Vortex. From all 6 of these, I think it is the B&M Dive, a mock launch coaster, and just a standard launch from Vekoma. I also think all 6 of these do have a shot at going to Kings Island, but I think 2 of them really do. One to replace Vortex, and another replacing Vertigo and Congo Falls in the future. But why didn't I pick the tilt? I think it might be a little too soon to be flooding parks with them when things like the reliable dive exists and a family Vekoma, because I think this coaster has to go upside down, maybe 4 to 6 times. They wouldn't put that on a family coaster. But I don't know what the park's thinking. For all we know, we could get a flat ride in the new plot of land and then a new themed area and maybe a coaster down the line, but who knows. And for the Big Dipper, I just think Kings Island would pick a standard launch coaster from Mock. The Big Dipper seems just a little too small for Kings Island. I think the B&M Dive is a big shot at Kings Island. Six Flags has made a lot of them and, well, they know what they do. And a dive could easily hit 6 inversions, matching Vortex's count and breaking a record. And like the tilt, this could have an amazing path interaction because I think they would put in some effort into like a new area. I think of the 3, the mock launch coaster is least likely. Yes, the company will and has worked with mock before, but Vekoma makes cheaper rides that are also smoother, really. So I think the company would work with Vekoma over mock. Ooh. unless they come to an insane deal. But the coasters I picked can easily do 6 inversions without feeling a little tacky. A Helix plus Copperhead Strike would be awesome. This is my personal pick, the Vekoma launch coaster. I'm kind of combining the family and thrill here, but I still think the park will go with the Thrill Edition for the Vortex replacement. I think a custom 6 inversion Vekoma is truly the best fit for Kings Island. That's pretty realistic at the same time, but also just a dream. The park really needs a modern launch coaster and looping sit-down, so really any coaster that launches and goes upside down would work, but I think a 3,500, 4,000 foot long high thrill Vekoma is the best. It would satisfy GP and enthusiasts alike. Of course, who knows what they're actually planning. We're all just guessing at the end of the day. For all we know, we could be getting something totally out of left field, or hold off for a few more years and do something massive. But that's where I'll leave it to you guys. What do you think is replacing Vortex? Do you agree with my picks, or do you have something totally different in mind? Drop a comment down below. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and comment to help me out. Check out my socials as well. Follow me on Insta. Once again, thanks for watching. Peace.